Hi everyone, please bear with me for the last presentation of the day. I'm a PhD student from the University of Tasmania, and my PhD is all about how we can optimise camera trap methodology for wildlife monitoring with a focus on feral cats. So today I'm going to tell you a bit about my results from my lure trial for predator attraction in a temperate rainforest. So camera traps, we know them, we love them, they can provide great data for wildlife monitoring, but we run into the teensy problem that an animal might exist in our environment and never walk in front of our camera. So we're always fighting an uphill battle to increase our detection probability. Now we could do this by putting out more cameras or leaving these cameras for a longer period of time, but we don't all have the budget or the time to do this. That's where lures provide a common aid. Here we're looking for a sort of incentive to bring animals in front of our cameras to increase that detection probability. But what does past research actually tell us about lures and cats? Well, there's definitely some evidence there for behavioural responses, as we've talked about today, with hair snares or track pads. But John Reed's trial in 2015 found that we couldn't actually increase the visitation of cats to camera traps using auditory, olfactory, or visual lures. But what's the harm, right? We might as well put the lures out just in case we can increase that detection probability a little bit. I've got two qualms with this idea. The first is that cameras are very versatile and some models can be left for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year without servicing. And when we deploy certain lures, like olfactory or food lures, we need to change those every 20 to 30 days to keep their potency, therefore increasing our field effort and resources. The other idea that I have is if you're increasing the activity of cats, you're probably increasing the activity of other predators at your camera trap sites as well. Other predators that might have unknown antagonistic interactions with our feral cats. And what is that doing to their detection probability? So I decided to run a trial in the southeast of Tasmania where I deployed 4 grids of 16 camera traps. Every month I went to these cameras and changed the lures out between a fluffy feather boa as a visual treatment, a tuna oil soaked rag for olfactory lure, a cage of wallaby organs as a meat incentive, and a null treatment of just nothing on a wooden stake. I did this for 4 months in total. Then I had the absolute joy of going through these pictures and classifying the behaviour of all the predators on them. I also looked at whether or not a species visited the site during the lure period, how many images we got of those species, and then analysed all this using logistic and linear regression analysis, calculating odds ratios with confidence intervals to show our effect size. And some of the lures actually appeared to work, which really surprised me. The food lure and the visual lure proved to have significantly higher activity of cats at these sites than the null. As you can see, those confidence intervals don't overlap. The olfactory lure still showed a positive trend, but it wasn't quite significant from the lure. So we're talking about getting triple to quadruple the number of images when using a food or a visual lure as compared to the null. Interestingly, despite this increased visitation, I didn't actually see a reliable behavioural response from the cats. But this isn't the end of this story, because as they say, the devil is in the detail. When I looked at these models a little closer, there was actually an interaction effect between devil activity at a site and cat activity. That is to say, devil activity increased as a result of food and olfactory lures, as we would expect. And at those sites where devil activity increased, we actually captured half the number of images of cats as compared to the null treatment. The same effect was not seen for the visual lures. So my final thoughts on this is it's a cautionary tale about how our surveys need to be species specific and lures might not always be worth the trouble, particularly when you might risk antagonistic interactions. And maybe you guys have the same thing with dingoes and foxes, I'm not sure. The visual lure performed as well as the food lure, potentially requires less servicing, though may only be useful in the short term while the novelty's still there, and didn't result in those antagonistic interactions. So this cheap grab from Spotlight could provide a much needed relief for our camera trap studies. Thank you, I look forward to your questions.